Hello, everyone, and welcome to You're on Fire, a Pokemon Unite podcast hosted by myself, Spragels, the content cowboy, yeehaw, and all that, as well as Loosh. Hello, Loosh.
Hello, Spragels.
And hello, Crashy, our additional host.
Hello.
I said it wrong. I said it as if Crashy is an additional host, but he's just also a host.
He's just here.
There's me, there's Loosh, and there's Crashy as an additional host. And then we have a special guest today, Chris Heroes. Hey, Chris.
Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for being here, man. Chris, if you don't know, is a content creator for Pokemon Unite, also probably the greatest solo queue Pokemon Unite player in the world. You can find him on Twitch and YouTube. It's really impressive because Chris has one of the hardest jobs in Pokemon Unite, which is only solo queue all day, and that's very, very tough. So today we're getting into.
I'm supposed to do it like this. Sorry, this was bad.
No, not at all. It's not bad at all. Today we're getting into a few topics. We got Espeon to talk about, who just came to the game. We have the Aeos Cup. We have a big G4 tournament. But given that we have a guest here, I think we should start talking to Chris a little bit first. Yeah, if that intro wasn't enough, Chris, how would you describe yourself otherwise in the Pokemon Unite scene?
I mean, for sure, I just also try to just improve the community a bit. I think just skill-wise, Unite is kind of lacking when it comes to how people play the game. And honestly, I feel like I'm more like a relatable kind of person because I suffer the same things that all my viewers suffer through, which is playing alone. Solo queue, duo queue, whatever it is, and just getting grief left and right, and just trying our best to just make it through there, without feeling too bad about it, and still having fun playing, builds that will help you win more games. And honestly, I just try to I really want to educate the player base a bit more because there's so many things that I feel like are lacking when it comes to knowledge. So that's also one of my main goals just when it comes to playing solo queue.
Yeah, that's good. Solo queue is, it's a whole thing. Yeah, I know Crashy probably has some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I've never heard him speak about it.
Chris, do you play solo queue sometimes?
I do. It's funny because this season was the season that I was going to full Chris Heroes it, and I was going to play my one account full 100% solo. And I have. I mean, I have played it 100% solo, but I thought I was going to hard grind it. Dude, I just don't have the mental for it. I think as crazy as it is, you can be really good at the game. I feel like, as far as solo queue goes, I feel like I'm pretty good at the game. I don't have the mental for it. And so when I'll watch Chris's streams, usually the timing lines up well. You're streaming in the morning and I'm editing, so I just happen to be sitting there watching. And I watch you go through the most ridiculous scenarios, and I'm just thinking you usually you get a little stressed, you get a little tense. You're like, oh, how is this happening? What are these players doing? And I'm mad on my side of the screen. I'm mad watching you go through it. So yeah, it's tough, man. Yeah. Going through solo queue, you get the lane Charizards. Oh man, it's really, really rough.
It's something. I was telling Crashy earlier today on stream. I had a Sylveon on my team that when it hit the 2-minute mark, they went back to the base and they pinged the goals and said defend the goals, and my team listened. So everyone went back and defended our goals at 2 minutes while the enemy did that. And I just didn't know what to do.
That's hilarious.
You flip, Loosh. You flip.
I tried. The hooper wouldn't let me move, so I couldn't really do it myself.
I feel like when I'm playing solo queue, I feel like I'm a little... I understand where Crashy's coming from a bit. I feel like, however, I'm a little on the other side. I have the mental more than I have the skill at times because I can handle it. I can just go, oh yeah, that's what Machamp does. It doesn't show up to Zap. There's a lot of core fish to deal with. I understand that aspect of the game, but when there are only 2 people at Zap, I'm kind of going, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to outplay this one. It just isn't going to work out for me.
Have you ever heard my Spraggles impersonation?
I would love to hear it.
I always, because I've watched you play, and you're so calm about how you deal with solo queue scenarios. And there's a little line that you say. It's the only thing that I can really pin down that you say whenever you're streaming. But you'll be like, "What is happening? What is happening right now? Y'all see this game? What is happening?" And so I love saying that, in your Spraggles voice. That's my Spraggles impersonation.
Solid,
I've also
solid.
something I've noticed that I say is, and people have pointed this out, the most toxic thing that I say is that someone's making an interesting play. So if I go, okay,
That's a good
so that's
way.
interesting. So that's my way of saying I can't think of a worse decision you could make. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so up there, Rotom,
Hey,
just
you
getting
said
it
that
ready
about
for the
the
enemy
weakness
team.
policy Greninja.
Did I say it was interesting when I saw that from your team?
You did.
Okay, well, I did think it was pretty interesting. But Chris, I'm so happy to have you here. Obviously, we have a ton of stuff to get into today. We should start with Espeon. Espeon just dropped into the game for people who have money, and it should be released soon for everyone else. Probably, in some ways, in that respect, kind of the most controversial release in Unite, in that, for a week, this Pokemon is only playable if you have real money to spend on it. We can talk about that a bit too, but I'd love to get everyone's first impressions on Espeon, and let's start with our guest, Chris. What were your first thoughts when playing this character?
My first thought is it just doesn't do enough damage. Like, it's a very fun Pokemon, it has a good amount of CC as well, but it just doesn't do enough damage. Like, for solo queue, it felt very bad to play certain... Like, it's good at setting up your team, but it just doesn't really finish anything off. The Unite move is very strong, but if your teammates ascend, you say they do corp fishes. Machamp is running around cleaning corp fishes. Someone needs to follow up your Unite move, or you just don't do any damage compared to like Blastoise, who one-shots everything in his Unite move. It's just not enough damage. Besides that, the character is fun. I think it's very skillful as well. It's like one of the hardest characters to play well, because it has very difficult skill shots to actually land, unless you obviously play Store Power. But yeah, it's just lacking in damage. That's just straight up. It's too squishy, lacking in damage.
Yeah.
Similar to Sumeru, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. To me, it feels like, so we even tried it in team comps, right? We did it in scrims, and like, it feels like a support almost, because it doesn't do enough damage and it has setup, right? It just doesn't feel like it can play that attacker role, because even if you pop off on this Pokemon, you can do like, maybe 60, maybe 70k if you go nuts, but it just doesn't do enough damage. The Unite's cool. Getting at level 80 is really good. It's just, I think it just needs some numbers tweaked. I really like Psyshock. I like the skill shot. I think this EV is way better than the other EV early game. But it's, I think it's just a little bit underwhelming, but fine tuning would make this Pokemon really good, I think.
The early game on this Eevee is like A tier, S tier, and then the late game Espeon is like B tier. It's like weird. It's like the character feels so like you play it in lane and you're like, oh my god, I can secure so well. Like, this is so good. And then you're like beaming them for like a third or like half of their health if you hit like the full Swift or the full Psyshock on them. And then you get to like mid game and you're like, dude, what happened? Where did all my damage go? Like, I was doing so well, but it's crazy because the character is like a true like mage, right? Like, it's got that range, like mage kind of play style. And Chris, it feels like it's like Li Ming, man. It's like got the Li Ming kind of style to
the
it
same ability,
from Heroes of the Storm. And so it feels really nice to play. I really, really like it. But I feel like either the range doesn't feel far enough for how squishy you are, and the damage doesn't feel high enough. So it's like, I almost like, at minimum, the damage I think needs to go up. But I wouldn't even mind to see like a slight range increase on like Psyshock or Future Sight. But that's what I've been running. I've been running Psyshock, Future Sight. I will say I do like going to the Zap Pit, and like in some of my solo queue games, I'll just flip the Zap, because like when I flip it and like right as it's about to die, I'll just ult and pray that my teammates get it. I'm just like, go team, go! Like,
it is
That's
cool.
not
The
bad.
passive is really cool. The passive is really cool though.
it's just like better Duraludon
Really cool
passive.
Yeah, it's a really cool
Yeah,
passive.
it's
And
pretty
they need to
insane.
stop giving attackers these defensive passives, please.
No, I agree.
Stop doing it.
I agree.
It's weird. I feel like the game keeps going on, the passives just keep getting better and better in bizarre ways. And when it starts, it's like, this Pokemon, when their health gets low, their attack's a
Does
little higher.
Lucario's passive even look that good anymore in the grand scheme of things? Remember how crazy it was when the game
Lucario's
came out?
terrible. Yeah, Lucario's no good.
Yeah, it's such a bad
anymore, you're right.
Pokemon. Such a bad.
My first thoughts on Espeon, I feel like I'm kind of with all of you guys in that it could use a little more damage. Early on, it feels like a real menace. So I find that with this Pokemon, I'm always showing up to Dread at 8, even, no matter where you are, you don't need to be in the center, which is really cool because its Unite move is actually... I think really impactful, especially for what you said, Crashy. I mean, if you can pick up 3 or 4 enemies from the enemy team and just hold them in the air for a second, someone on your team might be able to secure an objective if they showed up to it. So, I mean, that is pretty cool. It does feel like it continues to taper off as the match goes on. And then, of course, you know, Chris being such a solo queue player recognizes that this is just... It's just such a tough Pokemon as the match goes on because you can only do so much and you're just a squishy little thing that they can jump on and there's not too much else you can do after your eject button, your Unite is gone. However, I think I'm a little more maybe optimistic on this one than you guys. I think its damage might not be insane, but I feel like I'm securing KOs like crazy because of its stun. I feel like it's just so easy.
The burst is solid for sure.
Yeah, the burst is amazing.
Really
so I'm still only doing 70k damage in a good match. It's like, 70k in a bad match, it's like 50 or something like that. But I feel like I'm securing tons of KOs with it, and I'm taking every single piece of farm inside of a lane, which I think is pretty cool. So
I guess it's kind of like Aegislash in a way then, right? Like how Aegislash, you don't see crazy damage numbers, but it's doing crazy burst, right? Like I think that's really similar.
I would be interested to see if some teams could make this work maybe in an attacker slot, especially because if you can have it 8, you know, for Dread, if you're able to do that, which might be a lot tougher competitively, but if you're able to do that, man, that Unite just feels so impactful for catching a carry or something like that, just eject buttoning right into a Greninja. I don't know. I think I'm a little more excited about this release, maybe not excited. Excited's the wrong word, but I think I feel like it might be a little more powerful. I don't know. Those were my first thoughts on it.
I think fun
also
factor
for the
is 10 out
Unite
of
move
10.
though, you say. For the Unite move though, like there's so many unstoppable effects in the game right now that actually completely negate the Unite move as well. Like I remember my first games I played without Body Barrier. I blinked to the enemy team, the enemy Greninja uses full heal, kills me 3 auto attacks. I'm just done. And my Unite move is
I do think they should give the Unite move.
Press full heal and it goes away.
They should do the.
I don't think it should be just.
Where
they should do the Gardevoir thing.
It might be a bit too strong, but yeah.
Yeah, because like
Being
with
able to
Blissey
press
so
full heal
prominent,
while you're up, knocked up is like insane.
yeah, competitively, like with Blissey so prominent, I just don't see how the Shilai move can actually be that useful.
Also, I learned something. Normally, hyperspace, you can't go back into hyperspace if you're knocked up, right? But I united someone, and they were under a hyperspace port, and they still went back to base, even in Espeon Unite.
That's strange.
I felt kind of scammed. I felt kind of scammed. I was pretty
Yeah, I would too. I would thought I
yeah.
made a crazy play, and then and they got out. That's sad.
Wow, that is surprising. I'm kind of shocked that you could go back. But, you know, Unite has so many weird mechanics like that where you're surprised that someone
probably
goes back. You're surprised. It could be a bug, and they're definitely going to fix it. Let's talk about... I do want to talk a little bit about stored power really quick, because I think everything on Espeon's kit is pretty cool, except for stored power.
I like
it. Do you like stored power?
I like it, because you can just kite people, like, eternally. You know what I mean? It's so fun. I don't think it's good, but I like it.
It feels
fun.
It feels
quite
like
fun, actually.
the mystical fire of Sylveon, right? Like it's like the I can run around and do this, and instead of being like the mage, and so like I feel like that's the play they're going for. It feels fun, but I didn't feel like it felt useful.
Especially if you get like a future sight kill and then like it resets the stored power. You're just kiting her. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Like, is it great? No, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, where I think it is fun. It's a cool move. And if you're 3 levels higher than the enemy team, well, it seems to be working out pretty well.
I mean,
but otherwise, I feel like
the enemy team?
I'm 3 levels under the enemy team.
It's the Wise Glasses Machamp. It's the Wise Glasses Machamp.
But it ups its special attack. So I don't know. It's weird because I feel like it's kind of a cool move, but it feels the most undertuned part of this Pokemon for sure. And I'm guessing it's just because it's a sure hit. And if they make a sure hit too good, all of a sudden it's the only thing people will do. Yeah. But that's probably the weirdest part of Espeon for me is stored power.
Maybe they were so scared of Mystic Fire Sylveon release that they toned it down too much.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe that's what happened, because that was terrifying. And we don't want that again.
Even like so like the whole gem only for a week thing, right? Like just to randomly touch on that, not a huge fan of that, but do you know how much worse it would have been if this character was like super overtuned? Like it would just
Yeah.
be, it would be
Yeah.
such a worse situation. So Chris actually released a video talking about like the monetization of like the game, the membership, and then like how Espeon came out for gems only. And I think like the biggest thing that you touched on in that video was like you just don't want to see them make like the same mistake where like it gives like some bad press about the game. Like, oh well, they released a character where you can only pay for it.
Yeah.
and
Pay to
I
win
agree.
instantly.
Yeah, because this
I don't want to see that.
you know the definition of like pay to win is so loose. Like yeah, technically, but not really. And it's the same thing for Espeon. It's like yeah, technically it's pay to win to get Espeon, but like Espeon's not that good, so like not really. So like had they released this character super strong, it would have been bad. So I almost wonder if they like conservatively released this character, like kind of
I'm not
didn't
sure.
put a bunch into it.
I sit on a bit of a different end on the gems thing. So for me, it's like I think of the Hooper release, and it was like event only, and I feel like this is in the same way. But if you don't say have time to do the event, or you don't want to do the event, you can just grab it for gems, and like maybe it should have been available after the event finished. But like I think I like the ability to make the choice to grab the Pokemon. I would have liked coins to be an option, of course.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
yeah,
I think
I do like the
I
ability
choice,
to
but
grab it, because with Hooper you just had to wait. You just had to. You didn't have a choice.
yeah, but that was the thing. It was like fair, right? Like it was like fair that everybody
Yeah.
had to wait, and
Exactly.
Everyone could have it. Yeah.
you could either expedite that by making sure that you're like, or not expedite it, but you can make sure you get it on time. Because actually, when Hoopa came out, I missed it. Like I was like a day late. I was like, oh, I forgot to log in one day. But I didn't play support at the time. I think I was like 5 seconds, so it didn't really matter. But I like missed it, and I was like, oh, I'm making a video on that. But with this one, it's like I don't know, man. The thing is that like if you look at it in long term, if you already have the coins, like spending the money just like kicks the can down the road. Like you're just gonna get the coins back and then spend them on something else. But like, how many coins do y'all have? I have like 70K or something. Like,
Yeah, about
it's-
70K.
It's like
85.
85K.
Yeah.
So like
Man's loaded.
at this
Man's
point,
loaded.
now the only way to repay me for this heinous act that they've done, I just need them to release a bunch of Pokemon for 10K in a row, so that way I can guarantee just buy them all.
Just
So like I'm
get rid
good.
of them all.
Like I've got like I'm covered for like 7 characters, man. I'm
Just
good.
keep gifting those coins, man. 5 a day. You'll lose them eventually, you know. You'll
I have 128,000.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Man's getting gifted like crazy.
People gift. Look, if you're on my friends list, you don't send me coins every day. You drop off. Okay, that's just how it goes.
All right, I gotta get on that then.
He's got like an underground coin gifting ring going on.
You know why I don't give people coins? Because I don't want to give them the same issue I have, because I don't go into that screen
notification?
anymore to receive the coins, because my game like freezes when I try to like redeem all the coins. It like freezes my game, and like it just I can't. It's too much. The Switch is not meant for all this.
Yeah, I want to talk about the gems aspect of it really quick. I also agree. I'm not a big fan of it. I get where they're coming from. I understand where Lucia's at, you know, just like, hey, I don't have time. I'm not going to do the whole quests for this Pokemon. But it does just set up a weird thing where we're probably going to see a few more releases that are going to pop, you know, with this Pokemon at whatever, you know, 575 gems. And it's not really the end of the world, but it does set up a precedent where this is going to happen more and more. And there really is no way around it. I don't think as a content creator, it's a little bit damned if you do, damned if you don't. I've got to pick up the Pokemon, but I also don't really love the practice of it entirely. I will say what Crashy was saying is so true. I'm so happy this isn't Duraludon broken.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
man, the reaction to this would be insane. And I do think that they probably intentionally release this Pokemon a little like, hey, okay, it's good, but no one's gonna freak here. Because if they released a Duraludon that was pay only for a week and it was stomping every single game, that would be bad. That would be bad news, I think.
Really bad. Really bad.
But let's talk about builds. Let's talk about builds for this Pokemon really quick here. So I think right now it feels like there's a little bit of a split I've seen between Psyshock, Future Sight, and Psyshock. What is it? Psybeam, right?
Yes, I beam.
Yeah, Psybeam. I think both of them have some merit. I love the Future Sight reset. So it kind of is... It's hard for me not to use that move because when it's working out, all of a sudden you're chaining KOs and stuff like that. But I do think Psybeam actually has some really nice poke. It actually does a decent job also at securing, even though you already have a move that secures. So I think that's pretty cool. And then build-wise, I've just been running a couple pairs of glasses, usually in a Buddy Barrier, sometimes Energy Amp, because I find that I'm uniting a ton with this Pokemon. I get like maybe 4 or 5 in a game. Yeah, but yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody. Chris, what are you playing on this Pokemon mostly?
Yeah, also Future Type Psyshocks before. By far my favorite build. I just wish that Futures had a bit more range, because you want to combo it together. I always on the Future side first, but sometimes when a Pokemon walks into you, I just want to shoot back a Psyshock and I cannot use my Future side because it's the same range, but not really, since Psyshock has to travel. So that kind of annoyed me a bit, but yeah, for sure that bit as well. And the resets are super fun. I tried some Stop Power Jungle as well. Honestly, went quite well, but that's just jungling is overpowered, so it doesn't matter what you play there. Psybeam felt kind of boring. I really didn't like it. It also is like a really weird, it doesn't really bounce. It's only just like in a certain amount of degree angle it bounces off to other targets.
It's kind of like a little pew, like it shoots out almost in a cone or in a, I don't know, like a fork. It shoots out in a fork, basically. It forks. Yeah.
But I found it kind of boring. I just wish Future Side would do a bit more damage, though. I've tried Double Glasses and Buddy Berry as well. Sometimes Muscle Band, if I went jungling, so I have more clear. But I felt like Buddy Barrier, I tried to play without Buddy Barrier, and it took me like 1 or 2 games to go back to Buddy Barrier for this Pokemon for sure. Because I just got blown up with my Unite move. And otherwise just Double Glasses. Doesn't have the best scalings, but can also get Focus Band. Choice Specs I would always play. And then, Buddy.
Yeah, I've been liking like, actually, was like when I was like trying it jungle, I was running like double band specs. I was liking that a bit, but I've ended up dropping the focus band. I like to just do amp. I like to go just like full damage. I enjoy the muscle, the specs, and the amp, and feels like you get to do a lot of burst after Unite. So I said I'm a stored power fan, right? Like I think Psyshock is a better move. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a better move, but I think stored power has like some potential. Has some potential, and it's definitely fun. And I think more people should play it.
Interesting. That's an interesting choice.
So you're asking,
and if you're on the other team, play it so you don't stun me. Well.
You're asking people to be interesting in our games. Got it.
Yeah, be interesting.
Interesting. Cool.
Be interesting.
Stored
guys,
power. Interesting.
The game is about fun, guys. You know what I mean?
It's funny.
I
remember when
I mean, this,
What's a Zapdos? Just play it.
I remember when Buddy Barrier got nerfed, I got excited and I took Buddy Barrier off all the attackers I play. And then like it was like 30 minutes later, I was like, I'm putting Buddy Barrier back on like every attacker I play. So I tried it without Buddy Barrier. I didn't like it. I definitely like Future Sight Psyshock. But honestly, the main reason why I think I like it is because Future Sight makes Psyshock like an aimbot. Like you literally don't miss. Like so if they do step in front of you, I just auto target it. A lot of the time I aim my skill shots, but with Espeon, I don't really aim it too much unless I feel like I have to. But I've been running Choice Focus Buddy. I go the kind of, I want to be a little bit tankier so I can make sure I get a good Unite move off kind of feel. I definitely like lack damage with it, but it's kind of like leaning into what you said. Like the Pokemon almost feels really supporty in nature. Yeah. And so like I did Double Glasses. I liked that one a lot too. Muscle.
I did try EXP share on a team comp.
Y'all did y'all play in 5s?
We tried some things. We're working on some things. We're in the lab.
I got you. Yeah, so no, I did it with Muscle Band, and Muscle Band like Muscle Choice and Buddy felt good. The problem was just like you hit the end game and you're like poking at range, and so your Muscle Band is like it's not really that useful unless you're maybe like ripping Zap or something. But it's Muscle Band, so it's still good, but it's like it's the same thing as like putting Muscle Band on Gardevoir. Like you can do it, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan. But yeah, so sure. I go a little bit tankier on it, and it I think it's working okay.
Do we all agree eject is like a must?
Oh yeah, I don't. Yes. I couldn't imagine putting anything else on it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so perfect for its Unite move. It reminds me of Blastoise's Unite move almost, where the positioning on it with eject is just so unbelievably important. You can set up some really amazing things, and you have to be able to get in there in a split second. So I can't imagine another
stored power in. You wanted to
stored power in. Well, why would you do that? Wouldn't you lose the entire match first? Hold on, I'm trying to think. But yeah, I think eject is like a must on this Pokemon for sure. I want to ask you guys, have you seen, so Psybeam has this interaction where it will chain a stun or something like that, and I feel like this is not something maybe you could ever really control, but it sounds like a really cool thing. I don't know if I've ever really seen it.
I used Psybeam one time, and then I used Future Sight and I never went back, so I don't really know.
Same.
So I think you can chain your own stun. So I think you can chain your stun off of Psyshock. You'll hit Psyshock and then hit Psybeam. And in theory, if people are in the small fork range that we talked about earlier, you could chain your stun a little bit. And that seems cool.
It's like it's like Rocky Helm in that, there's an item effect there, but it like never happens. You know what I mean? It's like
it's so rare to happen even.
Dude, it feels like because I played a lot of Psybeam originally. I was like, okay, it's simple, right? Boom, boom. You just beam and beam. And I was like, all right, I'm good with this. And I kept playing it, and I was like, dude, I never see this stun happening. Like, and so I at a certain point, once I got to the sure hit, I eventually moved over to Future Sight. I was like, I don't think I'm going back. Like, it's free. It has that reset potential. It's like it has the delayed pop. It makes
it's so satisfying.
It is satisfying. And I was just like,
so satisfying.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe if Psybeam was like a little bit more guaranteed to chain a stun, or like if it, I don't know, had better range or.
Yeah. I love, speaking of Psyshock, I love its upgraded ability. The fact that it flies a little bit faster. I feel like auto-targeting it, I don't auto-target it at all. And then once it gets upgraded, you can kind of just tap it. It's not usually what I try to do, but just because it's so much faster at that point, it actually does nail a lot of targets where you don't have to aim as much. So early on, you're aiming and you're taking, last hits from wild Pokemon and stuff like that. But then once you get that upgrade, which I think happens early, I could be wrong, but is it 10? That you get that upgrade, all of a sudden you're just kind of spamming it a little bit. I'm not sure the move
10, I think,
yeah. I think that's a really cool upgrade for it. What's the upgrade for stored power? Yeah, what's the upgrade for stored power?
Oh no, it wasn't prepared for this.
Put him on the spot.
I know you're just.
I think it's just
Was it just more damage? It's just more damage. I think
it's additional damage below 50%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would it need more damage? All right. Well, okay.
It doesn't do enough damage.
It does so much. No, it doesn't do that much.
I was going to say,
I actually does damage. You just need to get a reset.
I have Unite DB just because I was like looking at that now, and I'm just so reminded how terrible the scalings are.
Shocking.
They're so bad. It's weird. But this is like an SP attacker thing, right? Like the SP attackers just like don't scale well for some reason in this game. They just
I felt like when I played Espeon, the boosted auto attack felt like it's a bug. Like it just feel like I just don't do any damage with it. It's just like it seems so powerful, like of an animation, and then it does like 300 damage on level 30, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
I guess they don't want you. I mean, because your range, your auto attack range even isn't that impressive. It feels like, so I guess they just want you hitting with your moves most of the time with this Pokemon.
Well, it feels like there's like a combo there, right? Like it's like you like Future Sight, Psyshock, stun, boom, auto attack. It's like it seems like they have like this like sequence. And I mean, again, I don't know how else to feel other than like I am 99.9% positive that after this character comes out for free, they will probably buff it. Like, it just feels like what they set this all up to do.
Sylvia on PTSD, and they wanted to just like tone it down. That's just how I feel.
Well, and I don't know how this works, but we heard the same thing with Azumarill, that Azumarill's stats were one thing, and then close to release they toned it down. So I wonder if they're maybe this is just because of tournaments. I wonder if they're a little more cautious because of Dragonite, Duraludon, stuff like that, where they don't want a Pokemon to come out and immediately be the craziest thing. Or maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they're just having fun with it. Sometimes it's crazy, sometimes it's not. They're like,
they're keeping us on our toes, man. Keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, you never know. Some
they've got a dartboard internally, right? They've just got a dartboard and they just throw it and they're like, OP or not OP?
I mean, but they even buff Espeon. Azumarill still hasn't been buffed as well. It got actually nerfed twice.
Yeah.
So Azumarill feels beyond weak and still got nerfed twice. Aqua Tail is absolutely unplayable now. I used to be Aqua Tail player, but it's just there's no damage now. They just nerfed it.
Whirlpool is really strong. Really strong. I'm big on the Azumarill train. I'm big on the Azumarill train.
That is the loneliest train. I can't think of a lonelier train.
We won the Aeos Cup with an Azumarill, guys. Let's remember that. Okay. Let's remember that.
Let's talk about the Aeos Cup, by the way, because we haven't had a podcast since the Aeos Cup. So let's get into that a little bit. And Lush, we'll start with you. I mean, your team did win your region's Aeos Cup. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh man, it was a crazy 2 days, and it was great. So it was the first broadcast we ever got in OCE. So it was really awesome. It was really good. And we played some interesting picks, some interesting items, as Jay commented about on his video. But yeah,
it felt interesting seeing weakness policy on Greninja. I went,
yeah, but do you know why? Did you know the story behind the weakness policy?
No, yeah, tell me.
So a big part about our strategy was that Blissey and Greninja were like the core of the team, right? The core of the team. So the plan was, and as we already showcased, we've already spoken about this, so I can say this stuff. Greninja was our engage. So Greninja would be the engage and unite in, and as it was in midair, I would hit it with a Blissey unite. And because I'm taking the damage for Greninja and giving it a safeguard, it can actually take hits, so it gets the value out of weakness policy. And because of that, we were able to sweep through teams because they're not used to that. They weren't expecting it. And there's just so much damage output.
Yeah, Surf has
was
really
actually
high scaling.
incredibly strong. Yeah, it was nuts. And we're running X attack on the Greninja as well. So it was just annihilated. Like Sulu was doing like 130k games, like we were just wiping through teams. And it was really cool. And Joe was popping off. The dude did not play Lucario in one game. He played Serena in the top lane. He played Azumarill. He played Aegislash. And like, it was an amazing tournament. It was an amazing tournament. And we were so happy to win. So happy to win. We put in the hard work and it's nice to see it pay off. And yeah, man, it was just a great tournament. The broadcast was great. It was great. Loved having our casters. Maybe one day we'll have Jake casting for us. Who knows? Who knows, right?
I don't think they'd allow it. I don't know how it would work, but I don't think they'd allow me to do it. I think our relationship's too close, Lush. I mean, that's
true.
When you're with what you're talking about with Greninja there, obviously, this is something that you can't do alone, but a coordinated team can come up with a plan and make something like that work. But of course, to the layman like myself, when I see weakness policy X attack on Greninja, I go, oh, I don't know what they're going to do with this.
Yeah, you can't pull that off in solo queue. Don't try.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
work.
I think there's some Japanese players that run like attack weight. Like they'll just do like muscle scope attack weight, and so
I actually run it right now too in solo queue.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, it makes
like,
sense. It's the same thing. It's so funny now that Buddy Barrier's gotten nerfed. You can take that like risk of running an attack weight. Like I'll still jungle Absol if I'm not laning Absol, I'll jungle Absol and I'll still run attack weight because it's worth trying to get the damage in.
For sure.
At some point,
we thought of attack weight for sure, and we did testing, but like. In a high-end competitive setting, is Greninja stacking an attack?
No. It's tough. I mean? It's definitely tough. Yeah. So the weakness policy on that's always kind of the trade-off with weakness policy, right? It's like it's more guaranteed to give attack stat, but it's less stat usually. So yeah, no, I like I said, I get it. It's cool that there was like a plan in place there. Y'all can take the hits and then get that.
I do think, and people may not notice this as well. I think that little bit of HP on weakness policy made a very big difference. It made a very big difference. What is it, like 120 something?
It's like 200?
It's like so small, but there were so many fights that Sulubu survived with a sliver of health.
It's like 200 something, right?
And was able to sweep people out. And if he didn't have that, he wouldn't have been able to. Obviously, Buddy would have been more health, right? But
yeah, it's 210.
It's just it
yeah,
does.
Chris was like, well, you
for a damage option, you know what I mean? For a damage option, it does.
It's a focus spend, but
Oh, we didn't
for damage option,
it would have been on cooldown. It would have been on cooldown, focus spend.
Okay, it would have been on cooldown. True.
Chris, did you get to watch the OCE broadcast?
No, I think I was. I was preparing for the European as well.
I only got to watch the matches with Lucia's team, but it was really cool. I love seeing. One of my favorite things about this game, seeing all the different regions, is how different metas form inside them, and I love seeing a team that wants to try something different. And maybe the right choice is to play something like that on Greninja. I think Greninja is absolutely nutty right now.
It's ridiculous.
The craziest Pokemon in the game.
It's insane.
So I love seeing a strategy like that. And yeah, my favorite thing is there are teams maybe in NA and EU that won't try to run an Azumarill or Zarina or something like that. But then you see teams in Korea who are going, no, Zarina's like the Pokemon. We're playing this right now.
So like content creator question that we probably all get asked is like, what's the most underrated Pokemon in the game? Lately, I've been saying Zarina. I mean, I could see how Azumarill could be that answer, but for me lately it's been Serena. I feel like when I watched Joe watch it, I was excited to play more of it myself, and I like never jungle the character anymore because I like when it came out it was like super jungle broken because the character was broken, but I love taking Serena in top lane lately. It's like fun. Like Stomp is nice to play in the current meta where it's like really bursty. And so
Yeah.
I've been running like attack weight, like I don't know, I've been running a few different builds, but like I'll do like attack weight weakness policy, and dude, a couple stomps on an attacker and they're dead. Like it's
I
pretty
think
strong.
Serena's such a mechanically intensive character too, and I think Joe's Serena mechanics are nuts, right? The dude is insane. The dude is nuts with that Pokemon, and like I think Pokemon like that, like I think they're slept on a little because Lucario is so prominent early, right? It is so prominent early, but when it comes to the later game, things like Azumarill and Serena and Aegislash just put out a lot more damage in the later game. So it's like that trade-off, right? And it really takes a certain skill level, I think, to be able to pull them off, it was just really cool to see. It was really cool to see.
I love
Then again,
that
Random
question,
Gaming
by the
also
way.
just put out the Power Punch Lucario again and just got every Zapdos and won
Oh,
the Aeos
man.
Cup. So
Yeah, we
you know.
saw we've been
But
seeing a
also
lot more
underrated
pups,
pick actually,
too.
it's Sylveon. I know certain other content creators don't like putting Sylveon in high tier lists. But I'm glad to see Sylveon.
Okay, buddy. Okay, listen.
I'm glad to see some Sylveon
the
being
meta-
played and actually appreciate it. I always thought she's so underrated of a
So
Pokemon.
Sylveon
It's
was
so
probably
aggravating to deal with when it's
underrated.
level 4. Oh my god.
Sylveon was probably underrated, but then like seeing the way that teams are using Sylveon,
Yeah,
I
true.
can't deny that that's strong. But they escalate the laning phase so much by giving it that early level 4, and so
Yeah.
random came out. They put the Sylveon strat on the map, right? And then Full Send was like, "Oh yeah, that looks cool. Like let's just do that. Like let's do that. That looks awesome." I think that's so funny. They had the interview. Wait, who was it with? Was it with Slashcan? It was with I can't remember who it
Snow
was.
Points, right?
Oh, it was Snow Points. Yeah, they had the interview with Snow Points, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we just tried that like an hour ago, like or something." He was like, "We just figured we just run it in a big tournament." Like, oh man.
Let's talk about that. So what we're talking about right here, for those who have not seen the tournament, is in EU, which this tournament happened hours before NA. EU was won by Random Gaming, who has now made it to every single grand finals, won 2 out of 3 of them. I think without question, this puts Random Gaming as maybe the best team in Pokemon Unite, or at least one of, without question, a handful of the best teams in the game. Their strategies are really impressive, and they came into this tournament running this split jungle Sylveon that would head to the top path, start to harass the enemy solo top path Pokemon. It would also head into the enemy jungle and deny experience there. And they had Power Up Punch Lucario. They had, I think they were also running Egg Bomb Blissey, right? Egg Bomb Blissey. So they had a lot of cool strategies. Blastoise, of course, and their whole strategy was head to every objective, have these massive secure Pokemon, and take every single one of them insanely. You couldn't leave Random Gaming alone with an objective for 1 second. It would immediately be deleted. They did that, and they crushed the entire tournament. It was really, really impressive. And then hours later, on the North American broadcast, Full Send copies that strategy and is able to crawl through the losers bracket all the way up and beat the undefeated in this tournament Game & Gladiators in a double reset to win the NA finals. So this is what we're talking about right here, is that Full Send did not have this strategy. They saw it on broadcast and went, let's play that, and actually won the grand finals with it, which is, I mean, it was crazy. It was a crazy turn of events. I think, Chris, did you watch the entire thing? I'm sure.
No, I mean, and I went at like 5 a.m. my time, so when I was only also casting Europe for myself. So I watched the beauties though. Like I watched the awards, and yeah, for sure, that was an impressive grand final.
So, I'll probably ask your help on this, Chris. I remember the funny thing about this whole Sylveon strategy is that it's not like it's a super new thing. I think it was either Random or maybe Five Guys or something that was doing it.
Not
They
Random
were
Gaming.
It was
They
Random
usually
Gaming.
did a
long time ago.
Yeah, it was random. So what they usually did was Charizard Sylveon, and then
Yeah.
Charizard gets the leap up, and Sylveon does blue buff, Charizard does red buff, and then both gain the other sides. And
And they
Sylveon is
would
the
go,
then
they
after
would
the
go
buff and
Sylveon
can only
bottom,
pressure
though,
bot
right?
lane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
originally were doing it where they were just kind of like stomping bot lane with it, and now it's like turning into the like harassing the Lucario and like going top lane and stuff with it. And it's funny because it almost feels like, oh, Sylveon came out of nowhere after a patch, like, oh, it must be better. It's like a meta shift. But it's really the strategy that's been going on for like a little bit, and it's like now it's starting to shine. So I kind of wanted to like throw that out there for context for Random, because Random's probably sitting here listening to the world say like, oh yeah, Sylveon's good now, and they've like, yeah, but like we already knew that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like we already knew that. So
Yeah, Aeos just loves Sylveon.
They had
so.
us testing it a long time ago because we saw it a long time ago. Yeah.
It's cool
the genre.
stuff, man. I love whenever, and this is one thing I've said about Unite a little bit. And I mean, I'm no one special. I just make videos and stuff, but I do feel like we have so much of like a copycat meta at times. And when people do get creative, weird stuff comes out of their creativity and their testing. And so it's cool whenever like these strategies come up, because Sylveon didn't get buffed. It's not like the character just is the same character, and I got to eat my words a little bit. It's better than I thought it was originally, and it's fun to see. So
definitely, like we played that team comp. We tried it in just like ranked games or whatever, and we'd never played it before, right? We were like, let's try this. Let's see how it goes. Let's just pull it out, and we queued into AFR, the team from the Philippines, I believe.
The Filipino team,
and they were running the team comp they were running in the tournaments, like so the actual team comp. And we just won so easily. It was just insane. And we'd never played it before. We were like, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is just mental. And I'm terrified of it. And I really want to see what happens when this same team goes head to head, because that's going to be kind of nuts. The Zap flip is going to be kind of crazy. And that's something I really want to see.
Also, if Espeon never gets a damage buff, you're going to probably see double jungle EV. I think right now it's just a bit too weak, the Espeon, but both can get level 4 from the first jungle clear. One can go bot lane, terrorize bot lane, the other can go top lane, terrorize top lane, and both get level 4 without contesting anything. And afterwards, Espeon can just go back to being the jungler. Is level 8, doesn't need level 9, which level 8 is super easy to get.
Yep.
So if Espeon gets a buff, I think this is also something probably Random Gaming would probably be someone that plays this. But it could be something they can look out for.
And it's
cool
because
with Ninetales? Or do you think it's not mobile enough? I wonder if it could work with Ninetales.
No, I think Ninetales just doesn't pressure enough. Like, Gleam is nice, but it's just not the same last hitting and same damage to it that, the EVs have, or the Sylveon Hyper Voice and Psych Shock. Just not similar in damage, but yeah.
I was going to say, it's cool because the EV, like the two EV combinations, they both get their levels so fast. So that's like a really unique strategy to it for splitting the jungle, because they just need less experience. I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting to see like an Eevee and like a Zeraora, because we know how little experience that character needs, right? It just needs such little experience.
Yeah, it comes online immediately.
No, but it is cool though, because I do think that if we could see something like that, where it's like a flip comp, and then you have like an Espeon like kind of like you have to deal with the Espeon, or the Espeon's going to lift people up, and it's the interplay between like adding these new characters that have these new mechanics is going to get so fun, and the strategies just around the levels is super cool. Like the whole notion of competitive jungle being a single person thing is like, that's already been out the door for like a little bit now. We're starting to see these split strategies.
I think the scariest thing about that team comp is that when the Zap spawns, your frame rate's about 6. I think that's the scariest thing about that team comp.
That team comp makes you play mobile. You have to play on mobile to use
crazy.
that team comp.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's funny that you bring up that team comp, because I recently played in a tournament, and we can get to the G4 tournament here in a minute. And I'm not, a tournament pro or anything like that, as evidenced by that
You're our coach. I wasn't going to tell everyone.
But we tried the double split Eevee jungle, and we lost every single time we tried it. So I gotta say, I think there's potential there, but we sure didn't pull it off. We were trying to figure it out.
It just lacks late game damage. It lacks late game damage.
It does.
Sure.
That's what it was. It was late game damage. Yep. That was our problem with it.
If you get both to 8 before Dreadnought, it's so strong early. We've tried it ourselves, but late game, you just feel so lackluster.
Yeah, it is really cool. I love that they're adding in Pokemon that makes strategies like this more diverse, especially after you see a team figure out Sylveon and then Espeon's here. Yeah, I can't wait. And as to what Crashy said, I think we might see a little bit of a buff for this Pokemon after it's, available for everyone and free. And that could be really wild, because if this Pokemon was a little stronger, I think it does start to edge out Pikachu, Ninetales. I think all of a sudden this Pokemon is really,
I will say
viable.
This. I love Stored Power now. If it turns into Release Sylveon Mystical Fire, you guys will hear me screaming about this move every single day. Crash, you remember?
Will you at least admit if it gets buffed that it's bad now?
I mean, I did say that's bad now. It's just fine.
Lucia's a pretty calm and collected person. When Mystical Fire Sylveon came out, you hated the game. It was so
Dude, I couldn't play. It turns level 4 and then I just die. I can't do anything. It doesn't have to aim anything. I just die. What was that? What was that?
Continuing a little bit of the Aeos Cup talk, I wonder if there was anything else that really stood out to everyone. I think for me, the biggest story of the whole thing was what happened with Full Send. I just think it was so...
That was great.
It's so impressive for a team to be able to do that, but it also just demonstrates, how, a new strategy can come out and be so difficult for teams to deal with. I wonder what we're going to see coming up here in May, because I don't know if we're getting a balance change before May. It's coming pretty soon, but then again, I have to eat my words here, as maybe Crashy did earlier with Sylveon, because I said there was no way we were getting a balance change before Aeos Cup, and then they changed the game for like 4 days before the tournament,
and a pretty good amount too.
I think in Aeos Cup, I think Ground Zero did really well. I think they put a really cool story there,
that was
I will say I don't want to speak on it too much, because I need to truly sit down and put more like watch time on it. But the way that the Eastern metas are starting to shift is getting really interesting. I mean, score comp is gone, and we're starting to see them like hard pressuring lanes. They do like this 2-0 jungle 3 bot kind of strategy. They end up like kind of like getting the farm like a little later on, and sometimes splitting. And it's like I said, I can't even really say what it is, because I don't want to say it incorrectly. But if you do watch some of the Japanese games, it's getting really, really interesting.
I versed a comp like that, man, and like we were thrown off because we're bot lane. We're like, okay, they're tri lane, and then they're like, okay, and the top lane is wait, there's 2 here.
Yeah, it's
like, wait, what do you mean?
It's really bizarre, and like I said, I don't even want to talk about it too much, because I don't want to say the wrong thing about it, but it's something to look at, and I just haven't really had time to sit down and watch it a whole bunch. But Japanese meta, like we have to acknowledge the fact that there's going to be Japanese teams at Worlds. So these metas were always going to clash, and it was always the question of like score comp versus Western comp and Western style of play. And now that's still the same thing, but it's not score comp anymore. So we'll see what people come up with. When it comes to the world stage, somebody's got to win it. So
can I just say how cool it is to see how far this game's come from when everyone was just playing Ninetales, Snorlax, Cinderace, Lucario, and Eldegoss. Do you remember that? That was every single team.
Yeah.
For like 2 months.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see how far the game's come from that point.
I think what Crashy said earlier about teams copying each other is just so true. One team gets really good, and then everyone goes, well, I guess that's the meta right now. You have to play Cinder, you have to play Lucario, and not that these Pokemon are bad or anything like that, but I just think one team starts to dominate a little bit, and everyone assumes that's the only way to play. And then a team comes out, like, I don't know if you guys saw Ground Zero, but they had a weakness policy Greninja, and that was really cool to see. So I think I really do think there is something cool to that, because people do copy the best team a lot, and all of a sudden everyone goes, oh, this is the only way to play this game.
Yeah. Crash in our region, we're recording video. Crashy, he did ask.
Yeah,
we're let him know.
Yeah, we're
recording. Okay. Yeah. Fun fact, in our region, when we queue into a couple of the other competitive teams from Aeos, we're versing the exact same comp we played when we won the tournament, and it's frustrating, and we're realizing how annoying it is to verse our own team comp, and it's yeah. And we're trying to find the counter now. That's what we're doing.
It's funny. We're
Chris. Oh, go
I was
going
to say I'll end on this last thought. The game is still like in its infancy to a degree. We're still in that first year, and competitively the doors, like the door is just opening. Like things are changing all the time, and so while we do have a lot of copying, I think that like with these last few balance patches or last couple balance patches, we're starting to see that those identities start to shift. This is like when teams are starting to say, you know what, let's do our own thing. We saw how Nemesis has been doing that for a while now too. They just do their own thing. Yeet Fan will play like Decidueye in lane, and they've probably pulled back a little bit on that. I don't know if I watched a ton of their games in G4, but now is the time where like I feel like player identity and like their own team comps and strategies are starting to shine. So that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask Chris, as just a final thought on Aeos, because you watched all of EU essentially. Did you have any other takeaways from watching the Aeos Cup?
I mean, so I think the competitive is very interesting right now. Everyone having like different strategies, and as you said, identity. Like everyone has like their own team comp that they shine with. But to me, it's still like a bit of a sting in my eye that one team can play one entire team comp over the course of an entire tournament and just get away with it. So I still wish they would introduce some bans. Be like, okay, this team just played this team comp, just gonna make it a bit difficult. We ban out this Pokemon, now they have to do something else. They have to adapt. I think adaptation is still just something that's a bit lacking in Unite. Of course, certain Pokemon sometimes get changed, but right now we just see Hoopa Blissey in every single game. Like every team comp has Hoopa Blissey, and then the three others can be like a bit different. Besides that, I'm happy for Unleashed. They finally got to a grand final. I feel like they have always been like barely top 5, but they got very unlucky. I think like twice in a row they had to like literally just dropped out to random gaming in one tournament twice. They just had to play the winner twice before even going to the top 3, because I think the brackets are a bit weird as well. So yeah, finally showing that they also have potential to win these tournaments. But besides that, I think Europe is pretty close. We have like 4 top teams now with 5 guys disbanding, though they disbanded after the last tournament. There's still like 2, 4, 5 teams in Europe that I think can all like challenge random gaming quite a lot and be our potential winners as well, or like Worlds present, like, you know, make it to Worlds as a European team.
Yeah, what a crazy little moment after Aeos, by the way, for every team. I mean, we just saw so much shift happen. I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong here with any of this, but I think right after Aeos, Blossom in NA disbands, Five Guys disbands, a member of Random Gaming, the team that won the grand finals, is taken off of the top team. It feels like a lot of teams got shakeups. Foreign Famous lost a member after Aeos. They dropped a member. I'm trying to think, but I feel like there were tons of shakeups, right? Didn't IX have a big shakeup, and now members like Rin's on IX? So so
Black,
what a
even
crazy
Blackhand,
shakeup.
like Blackhand made roster changes. I think like Ground Zero made a roster change. Like, I mean, literally.
Oh, that's right.
So many teams. I don't know. My thought was so funny on that. I obviously can't. When you're someone looking on the outside looking in, it's easy to just to have like a bias and say like, oh, I don't see why these teams are dropping people. But it felt very knee jerky.
I know why.
I know why for some it feels really knee jerky as a whole, and for others I think it's always important to know that on the competitive side of things sometimes things just aren't going to work, right? Like sometimes it's time for a change. And it doesn't always come down to just like, is player good, right? Like there's a lot of interpersonal communication, there's a lot of relationships that have to be upkept and stuff, and so it was crazy. It was a roster mania for sure.
So I mean, I've been playing competitive MOBAs for 8 to 9 years now. I was a professional Heroes of the Storm player for 6 years. And as soon as money comes into a scene, right, we didn't have much money yet in Unite. So tournaments didn't really matter too much. Yeah, you lost here and there, you won maybe some small tournaments. But now there's actually money on the line. Teams will try to be the best. And roster changes will happen. It was so funny to see, because you can tell a lot of people are new to esports when it comes to Unite. They haven't experienced it yet. They were like, why are these teams making changes? This is insane. It happens in every single game after every big tournament. Every big tournament and every single esports game has roster changes afterwards, even for winning teams. They were like, okay, but what if we can get an upgrade still? You know, just because you won doesn't mean all of your teammates are the best ones. Of course, it really sucks for Chroma, who got kicked off random gaming. But when someone like Bruff gets available and they think, Bruff is an upgrade, he will get us to Worlds if we upgrade this one player, then they will go for it. There's like nothing too bad about it. And of course, it sucks for Chroma, but in the end, at some point, when these tournaments come, everyone wants to make it to Worlds, everyone wants to have the best roster. They have like now 2 months, and Aeos Cup was a good test for it as well, right? Everyone was trying their best to win. This was the biggest tournament we had yet in Unite with the biggest prize pool. So now people are like kind of know where they stand. And it wasn't really too surprising to see roster changes like for me, but that's just because I've been in here for ages now. And I had to deal with so many roster changes in the past as well in my old teams after every tournament. So it's just normal esport things.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But for someone who just makes YouTube videos about Machamp wearing glasses, it seems crazy. I mean, it just...
No, it's for sure crazy.
It is still crazy. Like, it's... Because you have to, like... And then being on our side of the screen, you have to, like... I'm on Twitter and I'm like scrolling around. I'm like, wait, who? What? Wait, who? What? You know, I'm like, what happened? Like, so it gets really crazy trying to run it all down.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. But that was the Aeos Cup. Some really exciting stuff. There was the weird split in the Aeos Cup that I think is really unfortunate, which is Japan and Korea played a different game in the Aeos Cup. Weird. I don't love that, because if you look at Japan and Korea's strategy and then you look everywhere else, like they're playing 2 different video games at that point, but scheduling just made that a thing, and teams are going to have to be able to adapt, because it's going to be the team that adapts the best that can win this whole thing. We can talk. I know Crashy had some questions for Chris, or I'm sure we all do, but we could talk really quick about the recent G4 tournament. I didn't get to see the finale of it. I know Chris was saying that he got to see the finale of it. I'll just talk briefly. This is the first tournament I've ever actually played in with a team that was put together really quickly for this tournament. It was a lot of fun. I didn't expect that we were going to win, and I met my expectations. We didn't win. But it was a really good time. I feel like having only practiced with a team one time, we kind of got a strategy together. We figured it out, and we ended up playing against some pretty good teams and taking down a couple victories, which was pretty cool. Nice. I got to say that 5 stacking is a little addictive in that I mean, you really get to experience the game in a completely different way that I have not before, because I've mainly played this game as a solo queue player. And, there's just another level of strategy to Pokemon Unite that you really get to talk about when you go, well, what is our plan? What is our win condition? How do we want this to go? What is the way we want to win this game? What's our plan with this Blastoise? How are we going to get all these stacks? So I really loved it. It was a great time. We got beat by one of the best Gaming Gladiators. So that was a really fun tournament for me.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Yeah. I did a watch party for G4. And so the thing with G4 is that it was kind of like an escalated tournament. It started really late, which was super weird to me, but it started really late. It was like 9 p.m. And Chris, I think you said something about that. You were like, there's no way I was staying up to watch it because it was just so late for you and your time zone. But it was a little like all over the place because like the games were all happening at the same time. There was a main broadcast, but I had to try to find the best games to watch. So I'm jumping all over the place. And then losers brackets are best of ones. So it's like I have to decide. I'm like, do I watch the game 1 series of this winner bracket game, or do I go watch this best of 1? And so I'm in my chat and I'm like, which one do we watch? We're scrambling. And so we ended up watching y'all's games a lot. We watched a lot of Foreign Famous. Foreign Famous is just they're a stream team, so they're fun to watch. Y'all's team it was Stream Team. Wait, Dream Team, Stream Team?
Stream Team, Dream Team. We were the Dream Team of Stream Teams. So Stream Team, Dream Team.
So that was fun. But then, dude, as it started cutting down towards finals, some of those matches started getting crazy. We had GG got sent down to losers bracket. They had to make a run. IX versus IXGT was super fun to watch because they're sister teams. I think pretty positive on that. And the losers bracket was it was stacked, man. It was so stacked.
Yeah, Chris, you got to see a lot of it, right? Or at least the finals.
No, I watched 4 best of 3s. So I watched the ones that were on the main broadcast. So GG against IX, IX, and then the final and the grand final is what I watched.
Nice. What did you think from seeing the grand finals of it?
I was kind of surprised to see, when Overlord doesn't play Lucario, I feel like it's already kind of weird. He is known to be the best Lucario player. Whenever I see him switch away from it, I'm just really? It's actually a fun story. There was PogChamps who also have an insane Lucario player in Europe, and he switched to Serena, and it just looked like he looked so lost on it. I was like, why is he switching it? He's so good on Lucario. Why would he not play it? And similar to that, but in the end, they Blackhand has their new jungler again, or their old jungler again, right?
Yeah.
Jungle Book has unretired, and they look pretty good. They just play pretty cleanly, and IX was actually pulling out the Absol as well, which I really liked. I always seeing Absol being played as one of my favorite Pokemon, so that was also quite interesting. But besides that, I mean, I guess they kind of try to do what Random Gaming did as well, just with Absol instead of Sylveon. So Absol was doing one buff, trying to contest. But it's actually a time where the level 4 Absol tried to gank the Lucario, who was level 3, and just got killed by the Lucario. So it was also quite funny. Sylveon wouldn't probably not die to that, but yeah. It was nice seeing Absol being played. Besides that, I'm just so tired of Blissey and Hoopa in every single game, I have to admit.
Yeah. It's funny because
how can you not have a Hoopa, right?
Hoopa is a problem.
I definitely
Blissey every single game.
I definitely share your sentiment about a draft mode. I'll just touch on that really quickly because I think that it would also change our perspective on balance, because there's a lot of characters that are oh, they're not really that good, but it's they would be. It would shift things around so much. But I want to respectfully throw this opinion out there because I never want to step on competitive players' toes. I am just a spectator when it comes to competitive. But dude, watching the winners bracket finals that eventually it was Blackhand versus IX that eventually led into a grand finals because IX falls down to Blackhand. They lose 0-2 to Blackhand in winners finals. then they win their losers bracket finals, they go to grand finals, and they end up losing to Blackhand. Overall, IX to me looked like the much stronger team, but they just could not close out against Blackhand. It was like almost frustrating to watch. I was like, dude, y'all are right there. You're like kind of stomping them to some degree, and then they like lose Zap, or like they lose the Zap fight, or they, you know, like, and it was just like, oh man, it was so like, but if anything, the takeaway from this, because I don't mean to just dump on IX, is that IX is a newer roster. They were like, they're the reformed IX with Retsu, Rin, and they brought in Nudo. Nudo is their Absol player. I don't know Nudo at all. He kind of just like came out of nowhere. I've seen him play 5 stacks on ladder, but I don't think he was on a team at all. So it's this new formed roster of the North American roster mania. They look good. Like IX is looking really good. So big congrats to them for second place. Obviously, again, same thing, because Blackhand also had a 2-player roster change. Big congrats to them for winning the event. It was a fun one. It was a really, really fun one to watch.
Yeah, I'll say on what you said there. Like, I definitely think, like, yeah, it just came down to them being a newer team, because I think people don't realize that how much chemistry Zap fights really take. It takes a lot of chemistry. You need to really build that with your team, and Blackhand just definitely have that bit of an advantage. And I don't know if Nudo was on a team. Yes or no?
There's always like, well, there's also a honeymoon phase in esports. Like, there's certain teams who just are new, they get 2 more players, and suddenly the first 2-3 weeks they just completely destroy everything. It happens quite often as well. There's always like some honeymoon, like everything works. You have like a new team, everyone is super motivated, and then there's certain habits that come back for certain players. And you just like start struggling, and then you're like, oh my god,
true.
do
I
this,
can't
do
argue
this,
with that.
and then
That's definitely true.
Like,
I can't
this
argue
always
with that.
happens. So there's always like some honeymoon phase, and the first tournament as a new team. A lot of teams always perform very, very well, and then it just slowly goes down and down again. But obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. Obviously, I want to see more NA competition as well.
It's like the Twitter tweets that you get. You're like, new roster just got second place. Like, we're feeling good. And then
exactly.
like over time, like you'll like it's gonna be like a month from now, and they're gonna be like, I can't stand playing with Pika Diff. He's annoying. like I don't know, something stupid like that. No, but it was a really fun
it was on
event.
a team, but I've queued into him a lot in ranked. He's usually playing with Rin from like even back in the day. So like definitely been around at least. Definitely been around.
And that's the thing. I had seen his name, but like competitively wise, when I saw that they like, so they did like their Twitter announcement, they announced the IX roster, and I had seen him playing with Rin, and I was like, oh, like I didn't, in my mind, I was like, I didn't know he was like a contender for a roster slot. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, they performed well. One last thought I can say, it's not specific to G4, is that if you were to ask me who the best teams in NA are, I can't answer. I just have no clue. Every team, it's kind of like what
like
Chris
5
said.
to 6.
Dude, there's like 5 to 6 teams that are like all the same skill level or incredibly close. And I don't even want to list them because I don't want to disrespect anybody. Like, it's just the teams are so close.
I can list them for you.
I mean, hey, go for it, because like I'll probably agree with you.
GG, IX, Dream Team,
Nemesis.
Dream Team.
Stream Team, Dream Team. No, but I think it's just like there's like a clear top 5, I think, in NA, or like top 6, which is like, you know, GG, Full Send, Nemesis, Blackhand. And now IX has a chance as well to maybe make it into there. And I think those are like the clear outstanding who are always like top 4, top 5 in every single tournament. And but IX only with the new roster now. Of course, it was Team Blossom before. Now making their way in. I think for Infamous, they have potential, but they just don't really use their potential they have. Like, they have good mechanical players, but I've listened to their voice comms. They really have to prove those. But besides that, yeah, they just lose in very weird ways. Like, they lose just in very weird ways. But besides that, I think the other ones are like clear top 4, top 5 in NA, and all have a chance of just winning every tournament. I mean, I feel like in NA, every single tournament is a different winner. We have Nemesis winning one, Blackhand winning one, IX almost winning now with the new roster, then GG is almost winning everything again. Now they are in G4, they didn't do too well, but yeah.
What I think is crazy
There's
too
so many good
is
teams.
like the way that the World Champion Series is set up too. Like, if none of those teams perform on the day, none of them could go to Worlds. You know what I mean? Like, it's very like it's anyone's game. It's really anyone's game.
And that's also, that lends itself to the roster volatility too, because if a team feels like exactly what Chris said, like, oh, Bruv's open, we have to get him, right? Like, we don't have a choice. Like, he's the best tank player in EU. You know, I don't want to miss that opportunity to go to Worlds. And the format of how this tournament, you know, shakes out, like, the points, they matter, but they don't matter enough to stop you from making a change that's going to get you to Worlds.
I could rant about the tournament system in this Unite series like for hours and hours. It's very bad.
I will say one thing about it. Like, it is a little frustrating that So we've been number one in the World Championship Series in our region the entire time, but we don't really get an advantage for that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
not
like,
really.
it's kind of like, it is what it is. Like, it's fine. You know, you've got to perform on the day, but it is a bit strange.
Yeah, it feels
for
like
sure.
if you have, if you have a point system, it would seem to me that the idea behind the point system would be, let's say, and I know this is not the case, but let's say there were 3 spots for every region heading to Worlds or something like that. And I know some regions have 1 spot, but let's say there were 3. It would be logical that 1 spot would just be taken by whoever is the top point leader in the entire tournament. Like, those points actually secure you something rather than you make it to this qualifying tournament kind of for free, because that's
like the most
essentially
consistent
what they do.
team would make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, back in the old days, me and Chris used to play Infinite Crisis competitively, and we played ESL tournaments, and they would do like a season, and it was like, oh, the season's going to end at a LAN for like top 4 teams or something, and it was as simple as you could imagine. They ran tournaments, and the top 4 on the leaderboard qualified for the LAN. So it was like the most consistent, the most participating, and the best teams made it to the LAN.
Yeah.
So it is a little weird that like the points aren't just like that, that they're leading into this like finals. But I think the other thing that you have to look at is like when they do the marketing for it, they're like, grab your team and come make it to Worlds. You know what I mean? And it's like, you really could do that. You could actually grab a team, and if y'all were like
You could
nuts,
play the last chance qualifiers, just
Could
randomly
you
come up and
imagine?
fluke the
Well,
day and go
that's
to
my
Worlds.
biggest problem, I think, is the
And
last
just-
chance qualifier. I think the region it should just be the top 8 teams from the point standings, and that's it. Right? 8 teams the top. Then it would actually mean something in the standings as well. The top 8 teams go to the regionals, and then there's no qualifier for the regionals. I mean, the qualifier for the regionals should be all the tournaments
games,
before
yeah,
this,
the
right?
tournaments
should be
leading up
the
to the
whole
regionals.
series.
They don't give
Exactly,
any
yeah.
money anyways. Like January, February, March, like May, these cups don't give money except for the Aeos Cup. So what's the point that they play these? Like, a team doesn't have to play any of those, can make it to regionals and then make it to Worlds.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of weird that a team doesn't have to play everything to just still make it there. So yeah, that regionals is, I saw it as well. That was like the first time 24 teams in this last tournament for Worlds. And there's like 12 on an open qualifier. I mean, it's just so easy to get. There's already 12 qualified as well. Like 12 instantly qualify for the regionals, and then 12 more teams come in. It's just like from open qualifier. It's just kind of like, that is like probably the most bizarre thing about this entire.
Makes the
made
bracket
regionals
so weird
thing.
too. It makes
I've
the
made
bracket
the
so weird too
joke.
because. Oh, you're saying, Christian?
I was gonna say, I've made the joke that I could probably put together a team and make it to regionals.
Dude, it's possible.
Probably, yeah.
I probably
It's possible.
could.
Like, what I was
You
gonna say is
definitely
that
could.
it affects the brackets in this weird way, right? Because people will just play the launch chairs qualifiers just like for fun, and maybe some like just for fun teams will get through, and some teams will just make it to the finals beating for fun teams, while other teams having to verse like competitive teams. You know what I mean? Like, it just
I might do
it
it
makes
now.
it so strange. It just makes
Actually
it so
thinking about
strange.
it. I should, because at very least I get to be like, I qualified for the regional final.
Yeah.
It's
look,
weird. I think
sorry,
you
sorry.
want a little bit of both, though, right? I mean, this is just me. The unfortunate thing is there aren't enough spots to make this really work. But I think you want a little bit of both. You want the best teams competing, but you also want that wild element where something can kind of come out and also make it there. I think the unfortunate thing about it is, like, especially for OCE, when they have 1 spot, it feels like we can't really
Like-
do that, right? Or North America
Yeah.
has 2 spots. If there were 4 teams going from North America and one of them was just this crazy last minute team that got thrown together and crushed in a tournament, I'm cool with that. But it is tough when it's only 1 or 2 teams going.
Yeah, like we know World isn't guaranteed for us, so we have to work very hard. But like right now in the point system, we are in first place, and we've made a roster change, and the person we've put on has 0 points, and we're still in first place. We were that far ahead, and it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter, and that's a bit unfortunate.
Actually, one more thing. What annoyed me about the Aeos Cup is, go back to Aeos Cup one second. We talk about Unite Worlds right now, right? So, for Japanese and Korea, they broadcasted every single bracket game. I really don't like that European and A are the same broadcast. Like, I was actually quite annoyed when I couldn't watch every single quarterfinal because they were played at the same time. So it's like, when it comes to the regionals, there are going to be so many games, so it's not even going to be streamed. Because there's so many teams playing in this tournament now that they just have to decide, we just watch this, instead of every single game. Which I think if you make it to the top 8, in the tournament, I think your game should be casted, and it's fun to see casters casting your game. There's always a motivation for players also to be part of. And that's what annoyed me. I think Europe and NA should be on different days, the broadcast as well. I really think Europe should be Saturday, Sunday NA, or the other way around, so we can have the entire tournament every single game being shown, just like in NA in Korea, Japan and Korea. Actually, I think they did over 2 days as well. There was a lot of games being played, so maybe.
I think the way they did ours was pretty good. So they did OCE and APAC together, but what they did is they did all the OCE games and then all the APAC games. They played afterwards, so it was just a really, really long stream, and that way all the games got to be shown. You know, I think that was a really good way to do it.
Yeah, I think as the game rises in popularity, I would not be surprised if they continue to do that. They're obviously feeling their way through this, and I think they're kind of... I don't have any real insider information just being part of the broadcast. I can just say that it feels like they're figuring out how this whole thing is going to work. And I would not be surprised if what Chris is saying is true at some point, maybe after this first season, NAEU or whatever gets split if the game continues, to rise in popularity competitively. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Thoughts on something, Jake? India got a spot.
I know India got a spot.
India
That's
got a
so
spot.
great.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So good.
They deserve it, man. I mean, there's so many
sure.
players in India.
I'm just
they
surprised.
absolutely deserve a spot.
I'm surprised you don't have a confidential informant. I thought all content creators came with a confidential informant.
You're talking about a secret
She offered
informer?
to me.
Yeah, a secret informant.
Yeah.
You didn't get one of those? They didn't hit you with one of those?
I
You'll
end
have to
up being
send an
a
email.
secret informer.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I am the secret informer. No, I don't have that. They don't tell me anything. It's nothing.
He said, Crashy,
So.
stop it.
That's funny.
Crashy, I know you had a question for Chris. Maybe we could pepper him a little bit, being our special guest here
sure.
with
Yep,
some questions.
Yeah,
here.
so I
we're
figured-
really gonna put it to you, Chris. These are gonna be
Okay.
hard hitting questions.
Yeah,
You're
they're
gonna
going to
make
be
a lot of
enemies,
enemies.
right? I'm ready.
crazy. No, so I mean, you're our first guest on the show. We obviously had the intentions of bringing guests on at some point. So I figured out we would probably do something like this where we ask like a hot seat question to kind of end off. So it's a pretty simple one. I was just going to ask if you could change, fix, implement, introduce, whatever, one thing about Unite, what would it be?
Well, I think that's something I've talked a lot about already is make the Zapdos and Dreadnought not be last hits. Make it be decided by a team fight instead of, this guy just had a luckier timing on his thingy. Because it's impossible, right? I think it's not even about skill. When the team fight drops to 20 FPS, everyone presses Unite moves. It's not about skill anymore. It's really just not. So I really wish there was, again, in Heroes of the Storm, we had to use a capture point, where people have to stand on a capture point after the objective dies. So Zapdos dies, there's a capture point spawning. Both teams have to stand on it, then it's neutral. If one team is on it, they start capturing it over like 3 seconds. If they stand alone on it for 3 seconds, they get the Zapdos effect. And that's just something I would like to see. Also for Dread and Rotom, the same stuff. It's just so annoying that if you play Pokemon that doesn't have last hitting, you just have no chance, right? There's Lucario with Power Punch walking up, where it's his now. I can't do anything about it. So I'd say probably the biggest thing I would change about Unite is just how the objectives, get captured.
Cool. I hadn't thought about it, but we could actually just answer this question in round table style if you'd like. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'll kind of just talk more about what Chris was saying there. Sure. I think that's a really fun idea. I think, especially after seeing what happened in EU and NA for the championships, there definitely is something about just the last hit being the only thing that matters on an objective. I don't know how Unite might fix this, and I don't think we'd see a change or anything like that until after this first big tournament and season and stuff like that. But I would also love to see something like that. I think that's such a fun idea. I know this feels very Nintendo Mario Kart-y. I feel like they want a blue shell in this game. They want the ability for the team behind to come back. So I think they still need an element of that. But I would also love something slightly different when certain Pokemon that have execute moves or something like that get so much more value than Pokemon that don't. I think that is an issue. And I think it's also why we see a Greninja standing in a top L bush for an entire fight, because they have learned, even if this is a bad play, they have learned that if they throw that big water burst shuriken in the right moment, they will kind of win the game. So it's it's confusing, right?
Sometimes they just get killed by the 5 people there, and then
well, if they use weakness policy, they need a buddy barrier in that moment.
True. They don't have the tech.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I having come from Heroes of the Storm myself a little bit, it makes the fights really, really entertaining because it turns into a calculated dog pile, right? I wanted to throw the word calculated in there because, when there's a circle on the ground that has to be uncontested for like a few seconds, you have to plan and use certain abilities and certain Unite moves to secure it. And it would shift the meta, that's for sure. I mean, certain characters would see a rise and a fall because of their abilities that have the potential to impact that that circle, that point. But I think that it would be for the better. So, I've seen, whenever this opinion's been brought up, I've seen kind of like adverse opinions where people say like, oh, well, this might be too broken for that. And it's like, but we should welcome that, because I think overall it would be like a net positive. Like something like Guard of War, like spamming future sights on the point, or throwing its Unite move. Something like Blastoise, or not Blastoise, but Blastoise would be good. But something like Snorlax with block, where he dives in and then starts shoving everybody off the point to try to secure it. Like these things would make for incredibly cool fights. And then you're right, it wouldn't just be, oh, that person last hit the thing. So I would like that a lot. I think it'd be super, super fun to see.
So the way it works, right, is you still have to take down Zapdos, and then there's a point.
You take it down, a circle spawns, and the circle comes with a bar at the top of it, and it's multicolored. So it would be like half purple, half orange.
It'd be really interesting, because I'm curious to know how people would play their Unites out, right? Like, would you use them to win a fight to take out the Zapdos to try to get the point, or would you have to save them for the point? Like it would be really interesting. It would change a lot. And
so it would be
definitely a lot more skill based and strategy based. I think it'd be
like a mix of both, right? Because like if you could full kill the enemy team, then you don't have to worry about saving a Unite. But if it's like this like dancing fight and it's like getting low and it's like flipping, then you like flip kill it. And then you like, oh, okay, well, what do we have to deal with them when they step on it? Because once it's up, you start stepping on it. Someone's got to step on it. So it's it would get really, really interesting.
Yeah,
it's just like I've never played a game. That's my biggest issue. I've never played a game where it was unfun to win. And Heroes of the Storm, when you like were comeback, it was because you won a team fight. You were the team that was behind, but you still won a team fight. I won the objective. Here's just like you get stomped the entire game, and then your Wigglytuff gets it with a Gleam the Zapdos, and you just somehow win. It's just like it feels so unsatisfying. I just feel so unsatisfying winning games. Same when you lose games like this. It just feels so unsatisfying. But when you and a team are behind, and you actually somehow make the team fight win happen, you kill 2 or 3, you're able to capture the point. It actually would feel so much more satisfying. You're like, okay, we actually did win this last team fight, even with levels down. We actually managed to do something instead of just one guy walks up, throws out his spell, he gets Zapdos. Okay, congrats. Now you can actually maybe win the game. So it just feels so unsatisfying sometimes. I'm just like, nice, I won, but like it just didn't really do anything.
Yep. Do you think that if they did make it that system though, like because you kind of have to win a team fight, that it would just be way too hard for a team to come back if they're getting steamrolled? Like
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of teams who still are able to come back. I mean, I think this game in general is still of comeback mechanics, right? Just the Odino spawning on your side of the map is so much comeback experience that I think the losing team always has a chance to win the last team fight if their team comp isn't too bad, right? Of course, if the team comp is bad as well, then. But I think there's always a chance for you to still win a team fight. People make mistakes, right? And the Zapdos will still win you games, even if you're behind, like even if the capture point. If you're able to just barely win it, you can still win the game. So it's still comeback mechanic is there. It's still absolutely insane. But you actually have to do something for it.
I think that's a really cool idea. I had a question for you, Chris, and then we can maybe I'll talk about this as well. So I was wondering, I'm not sure if you have something off the top of your head, but I'm wondering what you think might be one of the biggest misconceptions players have about Unite. So what's something that maybe you feel like the whole community thinks, oh, this is the thing, and I think we're all missing it?
I mean, I think it's scoring points. I think people tunnel vision way too hard on scoring points. I was going to be honest. And then they show up as level 11 on Zapdos because they try to run into goals, dying over again, trying to get those scores in. They're level 11 for the Zapdos fight. They're beyond useless, but they scored 100 or 150 points, but in the end, Zapdos goes down and it doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the most important, like one of the biggest misconceptions. And also Rotom. Rotom is just the thing. I feel like that never does anything. It just baits your team into bad fights. And I see it in competitive as well, just the tournaments later on. I watched like 10 hours of casting the last weekend. There wasn't a single Rotom who did anything. Like, it's a bit of map pressure, but like in the end with Hooper now, people just hyperspace between top and bot. It just gets defended. It just does nothing. But yeah, scoring points I think is what people just tunnel vision way too hard on.
It's so funny. On my stream last night, I, as you could imagine, have people that will come and tell me their solo queue woes. And so someone was telling me like how they've had some rough games and blah, 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 blah. And in their like tagline, they're like, oh, I had a game where I had like, 10 plus kills. I did so much damage. And and they were like, and I always average a score of like 150. And I was like, let me hold you there. I was like, let me stop you right there. I was like, I want to make this clear. I was like, I think that everyone that plays this game should never care about how much you score ever. Like almost never, because the goal isn't how much can you score, it's how can you and your team score, right?
Yeah.
And so exactly. Even the stat line just feels so pointless to me. I pulled up my average score because I don't even know what it is. Chris, off the top of your head, do you even know what your average score is? No, of course you don't.
Like 90 maybe.
Yeah, but like the point is
sometimes I look at it like in the corner of my eye, but it's nothing ever paid. It's
exactly,
like,
and that's the point, because you would never look at it intentionally because it doesn't mean anything really. Yes. And so so I pulled mine up and I was like, oh, it's 90. I was like, cool, like whatever.
Yeah,
like,
I think I'm similar.
Exactly. And so and so I kind of like I was trying to make that correlation of like basically saying the same thing, like don't worry about it. Like play the game fundamentals, like hold your off lanes, like protect goals, like show up to objectives. Like when you play the game fundamentally, that's how you earn wins and not a high average score. So no, I completely agree. I do think that, ironic enough, the game's literal win condition is also the biggest misconception that people
I think the same thing. Like I get the same thing. I get people saying like, I score like 150 points a game, but I can't win. And then like I'm playing like Pikachu. It's like, why are you scoring 150 points a game on Pikachu?
Exactly.
Like hit the enemy.
Stop it.
Stop split pushing. It's crazy, man. So many split pushes.
And
The amount of times you will be in like solo queue and go to Zap and a Cinderace is scoring 50 on the enemy goal is ridiculous.
I just had it today. I had a team fight. Yeah. I was like, I was getting 3 Unite moves were on me alone. And then I see 2 of my teammates run to top, run to bot with full HP. Enemies are 5 on Zapdos and they just try and score. The enemies were super low, literally living barely. And both of them scored 200 points and we lose Zapdos and lose the game. It's just like, yeah, nice. And this is something I think my viewers are tired of me hearing is the first goal. People kill the first goal for like no reason. They just... the goal is there. If we destroy it, the goal is down. It has to be good, right? Like League of Legends, you kill a turret, everyone gets gold, it's good. But like in Unite, it's such a disadvantage to kill a goal this early into the game. Yes. And people don't really know what to do with it. They kill a goal, they all run away towards the other side of the map. They completely do nothing with it. And it's like the most frustrating thing. You have like you play solo queue, right? You have like 4 carries that need experience that can farm, that can't split push. And they just kill the goal, and suddenly you have no farm anymore. And suddenly, your Syndax is going to be level 11 on Zapdos, your Greninja is going to be level 12, because you have nothing to farm anymore. And this happens almost every single game. Whenever someone kills a goal at like 720, I die on the inside. Instantly. Unless they like a split pusher, right? But no one ever does that. No one ever split pushes, pressures the enemy or dinos. There's so many scenarios where like it would be good, killing the first goal, all of us can run towards the second goal, there's no jump pads yet, but that never happens in solo queue. Yeah. People just kill the goal and move on with their lives.
It's
the most frustrating thing ever.
It even takes it like a little bit further than that, because I now realize that I'm making decisions based on what I know other people are going to do. So like because I know that my teammates will kill first goal, I try my best to make sure I overdunk on it, right? Because like if you leave it at 2 points, it's getting capped at 2 points. And so now we know the deep strategy, but we can't even do anything with it because we just have to get as much value as possible. Like there'll be a goal that has like 5 points left on it, and I'll dunk like 28, and I'm like, man, that feels so bad, but like I know that's probably best case scenario because it's solo queue. So
can I make like a small public service announcement here? All right, guys.
Sure.
If you are in the top lane and there's 5 enemies pushing a Rotom to your goal and it has like 10 points, just let it in.
Let it in. Yeah.
Just let it in. Just move out of the way.
They will throw. You know what's? It's the worst when they let it snowball. They'll throw their lives away. Then the enemies will dunk before the Rotom gets there. Then they push the Rotom all the way to tier 2 and stomp that too. And it's like, no,
just let it in. Just let it in.
It's crazy, man.
Something that I think is really interesting, kind of in this same thought process. I'm so confused, and I guess it's just that people don't realize how valuable it is. I'm so confused as to why when the enemy does break your top goal, maybe they break top and bottom, and we've broken neither of their goals, your team wants to surrender. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is not bad for us. We have all this experience. Yeah. We're going to be pretty powerful. But your team's like, well, that's it. Surrender. We lost Rotom. We lost first Rotom. It's over. It's very weird. It's such a weird mentality. And I guess people don't understand how valuable it is. But the second you have those 3 Audinos in the top path and they're back every minute, I mean, you're just there's so much experience there. It's
unless
crazy.
you break their goals back, they're kind of starved for farm unless they come from the side.
We
It's
in the
so
most
good.
recent tournament we played, we had a couple matches where the enemy didn't break our goals, and with having no goals broken, it's really hard to get enough experience throughout the game. Like I honestly really prefer my top goal being broken early. I want them to break it. I kind of don't care that much about this first Rotom fight. I'm not just going to give it up, but at the same time, if that goal's broken, that's great for me playing any Pokemon that could use experience. Like if I'm playing Blissey, I guess it's not the best, but if I'm a Machamp or something like that, I'm in heaven when that top goal is broken. I'm surprised that teams
it's so
are upset
funny
by
because it seems to the point where like you can see the devs' intentions. Like I don't think the devs might have even considered that players would ever be smart enough to hold the goals, and then you see that in competitive. And dude, if a team gets Dread and holds goals and farms that lane, you're gonna see like level 10s, 12s, 13s, and you're gonna see some like level 9s on the other side, and they're struggling so hard. But the minute you break that goal, you just throw it back to them.
If you get Dread and you don't break goals and you like take care of farm properly, like you can stop the enemy team from getting unites by second Dreadnought. You know what I mean? Like you can really freeze them out. It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal.
The worst part is, like, I used to read sometimes Reddit, right? And it was just so funny. It's like, there were people saying, oh, we lost Dreadnought, and then our top couldn't even get Rotom. If you lose Dreadnought and you get Rotom and break the enemy goal, it's like the worst case scenario ever. You don't even want to get top Rotom. Like, it's the worst thing you can do. It's like, this is the worst. Like, someone breaks the goal and you lose Rotom at the same time. The enemy's just like in experience heaven instantly. And this is just something, I don't know how, like, it can be like teachable towards the community. I just don't know, like, it just happens every single game. And I don't know if Timmy should be doing something against it. Maybe also still have some, like, more camps towards the other side to neutralize that. But yeah, it feels awful when I play like a farming character and suddenly I don't have any farm anymore, and my other characters also all need to farm. It's just, it feels miserable. And suddenly there's comebacks possible. That's how the comebacks happen. Suddenly the enemy hyper carries 14, 15 Zapdos for free, right? He had to do nothing. He just had to port back to space. You can't push him to second goal. It's most often it's through Q either. Like, it's just a death sentence. So they just farm free experience until Zapdos, and suddenly they're like, oh, enemy Cinderace is level 15. Or enemy Venus was level 14, 15. Even though he was getting stomped the entire early game. And suddenly you just lose a team fight.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, it's an epidemic, guys. Did anyone else have any other questions for Chris before we close this thing out? All right, guys. This has been wonderful. Chris, please tell everybody where they can find you and all the cool stuff that you're up to.
Well, I stream every day on Twitch under Chris Heroes with nice solo queue action. Trying not to be frustrated. Then on my YouTube channel as well, Chris Heroes, I upload a lot of my games, a lot of guides. And that's it. Your YouTube and Twitch, Chris Heroes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much
With
for being
no
here.
H for the people
of
listening.
course.
With
Thanks for
no
having me.
H.
Yeah, Chris
that
without
again,
an
Luke,
H.
sorry?
Chris without an H is what he said.
If you're listening on the
Right here.
podcast,
This
no
is,
H.
it's CR. Yeah, there's no H, right? Wait, I can show it right here. There's no H in between. There's
That's
a Heroes
true.
that has an H, but my Chris doesn't have an H.
Yes.
I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening to You're on Fire. Big thank you to Chris for being here. For myself, Lush, and Crashy, thank you so much. I love you all, and goodbye. Mwah.
Bye.
Aw.
Bye. Bye-bye.